I wanted to ask you about this racing thing. So there was this question in my mind which came up to me, which is that when you're a racer, do you learn about physics, like how to take a turn or something like that, or is it just your driving?
No, there's a lot of training. With any sport or anything, there's a level of understanding you need for that activity, and especially because remember that racing is also very dangerous. It's part of the sport to be dangerous. So you can't just show up and start driving. In fact, just to qualify is a huge task. They won't just let anyone in. You could show up with $1 million and they'll be like, go home, because it's like I would say it's probably like just below aviation in terms of how strict they are. It's like the professionalism even in India is next level. Like every single screw to every single thing you as a driver is doing is monitored to a very very high bar. And that's the most fascinating thing I found about motorsport, because even in India you would assume ki it'll be like all chalta hai or whatever. It's so professional that you would be amazed how professional it is, because everything from the suit you have to wear, they'll actually check your suit every single time you go to the race. It's a specific fireproof suit with specific layers on it. Your helmet has to qualify for the race you're actually doing because it has a certain construction. I mean, these things are obviously very expensive, but they are to save you. And the race car itself goes through so many checks. Your weight is checked, your health is checked, everything. Like just to get my racing license, I had to get my eye test done and my physical test done to make sure that I'm fully fit and sane to drive a race car, and I don't have any conditions or anything. And so it's a very very strict environment. And of course, the actual driving part, you have to do a lot of training. Number one, you have to become very fit. Now, any sport you have to be fit, even if it's golf, you have to be fit. So imagine racing where you are going at very high speed, and a lot of people struggle to imagine why racing would be a sport where you need to be fit, because you're just sitting in a car and steering. Uh, and I think those people don't realize the laws of physics and gravitational forces that you go through. And the best example I can give you is, when you're in a car and the car brakes really hard, your body gets pulled forward. That's called G-force, right? When you get in a plane and the plane starts accelerating on the runway, that you get pushed back. That's G-force. Um, G-force is basically, it's multiplying the weight you're feeling on your body by a pull effect, right? Something is pulling you. So in a race car, when you're turning at very high speed, and especially when you're well above 100, 99% of the people in this world will never experience, even on a straight line, a speed above 150 or something. And in a race car, you're turning at 200. So you're literally taking a corner at 200. So what happens is the race car is designed to go at that speed because it has like all these wings. That's why the Formula cars, they have these flat surfaces, which are the downforce elements. And in the most basic terms, it's the opposite of an aeroplane wing. An aeroplane wing is designed to create lift. So it's got like pressure area below and low pressure above. So when wind picks up at a certain point, the airplane starts lifting. And you can imagine an aeroplane weighs like tons and tons of kilograms, and it can just lift in the air with very low effort. So the race car is doing the exact same thing with the opposite forces. So the wing is creating high pressure above and low pressure below. So a race car which is 600 kgs static will weigh 1200 kgs when it's going at high speed. So instead of lifting, see, if I were to put 600 kgs of lift, my car will become zero in weight. If I were to put extra, then my car will lift in the air just like a plane. So here the opposite is happening. My car might weigh 600, but when it's going at high speed, it weighs 1200. So that additional force allows me to turn, which is, you can't see it visually. It's like, when a plane takes off, you can't see the air lifting you. You just get lifted. And there is a certain belief that we all have that the plane will lift. In the same way, in a race car, when you take a corner, you have the belief that it's gonna corner. A normal car will just go straight and crash, right? So we managed to turn. So when that happens, there's something called G-force that gets applied to our body. So when I'm turning, my head will get pulled to the side. If I'm turning left, my head will go right. And instead of weighing the normal weight, let's say 10 kgs with the helmet and everything, 10 to 15 kgs, it's now going to weigh double. So suddenly, my neck, which all its life has been used to lifting 10 kgs, for example, now suddenly has to lift 20 kgs, even if for a brief time. But you do it repeatedly, and your neck muscles just give up. So you'll always hear something about racing, the neck goes. That's the first thing that goes. It has the least amount of practice to carry the additional weight. And that's just the neck. Imagine the whole body then, plus the heat, plus the actual physical effort required. So that's why actually racing is one of the toughest physically toughest sports in the world, because in a very short amount of time, within like a 45-minute race, I would lose 2 to 3 kgs of weight. That's how intense it is. So there's a fitness piece to it, that you have to be extremely fit, and beyond like going to the gym every day and working out and building muscles, you have to be like athlete level fit, which I am not these days because I haven't been racing. And then you need the technical understanding of what you're actually doing, the product, the thing you are using, which is the race car. And then you need the actual racecraft, the actual technique that makes you a unique sports person. It's like if you were to play basketball, you would have your own technique, your own way of playing basketball. Of course, you need to be very fit. You need to know the technicals and the rules and everything else of the sport. But end of the day, you also need to know what kind of a player you are, and you would play a certain way, and that's your individuality that you add to the sport. And then you have to know what others do. So if I was playing against another player, I need to be able to study him as well and counter my moves or his moves in real time at a very high intensity environment. So same thing happens in racing. When you're racing, not only do you have to drive your own car at a very high limit, because you can't come below the limit, you always have to be at the limit, or you won't be competitive. Plus, now you have 20 other guys around you who are trying to do the same thing, and some girls as well. So now you're suddenly like not only just driving a race car really fast, which was a task in itself, because you have to be fit and you have to be consistent and be able to manage this whole activity, but now you're also competing with others to win and to be at the same spot at the same time, and everyone's got the same mentality as well. And that creates a very high level of competition, creates a very high level of stress and pressure and anxiety and everything else that comes with it. But it teaches you to be a very tough person. That's why it's not for everyone. And I've just learned so much through it, especially how to manage my own emotions, how to act under pressure, how to function at a very high intensity, and that has helped me in everything in my life since then.